April 16, 2019. A group of divers entered Mill Pond Cave in Tennessee. They couldn't all return at the same time. One would be trapped in the darkness for 28 hours, waiting to be rescued by an experienced diver. But could he have been rescued? The afternoon was hot in Jackson County, Tennessee. It was the kind of spring day when the air was fresh and the forests were calm. Mill Pond Cave was located in the Flynn's Lick community, a challenging underwater cave system known only by a small community of technical divers. Josh Bratchley stood at the entrance with several experienced cave divers. They'd come specifically to dive this cave, explore its passages, and map them, some even from England. Bratchley was 27 years old. He was an experienced cave diver with extensive training. But he was also famous for something else. This is Spooky Nightmare. Here, stories are told not to frighten, but to remind. Less than a year earlier, Bratchley had been part of the international team that rescued 12 children and their soccer coach from Tam Luang Cave in Thailand. The rescue operation had captivated the world. 13 people trapped on a ledge in a submerged cave, miles from the entrance, with monsoon rains threatening to drown them at any moment. Bratchley had been specifically selected for that mission because of his technical skills, his calmness under pressure, and his ability to navigate the most challenging underwater environments. The rescue was successful. All 13 were extracted alive. Bratchley was later made a member of the Order of the British Empire for his role in the rescue. Now, less than a year later, he would need to be rescued himself. Mill Pond Cave is not a well-known dive site. The cave system had been the subject of relatively recent exploration, and its reputation among technical divers was clear. This was an advanced, dangerous environment, and most importantly, completely unknown. Very great dangers might be waiting in its unexplored places. The cave requires passing through submerged passages before reaching air pockets deeper in the system. But passing these passages is not easy at all. Narrow, often requiring divers to barely squeeze through tight restrictions. The cave floor is covered with silt that reduces visibility to zero at the slightest touch. Visibility drops to nearly zero almost instantly. You don't even understand what's happening. Water temperature hovers around 12 to 13 degrees Celsius, cold enough to dangerously rapidly deplete body heat. Where you're going and where you came from depends entirely on the guideline. Without it, finding the exit in zero visibility is nearly impossible. The dive group had been in the area for several days, methodically studying the cave system. On Tuesday afternoon, April 16th, they prepared for a dive. So, if you were in their shoes, would you dare to enter a cave whose most parts are unknown? They entered the water that afternoon. The dive proceeded as initially planned. The team passed through narrow passages, following the guideline through murky water. And then something went wrong. The guideline broke. In a cave as silty and narrow as Mill Pond, a broken guideline is catastrophic. It's not just a navigation aid. In an environment where you can't see your hand in front of your face, it's your only reference point. Bratchley separated from the line and the group. Exactly how it happened is unknown, but the result was the same. He was lost. His teammates didn't notice immediately. In zero visibility, when everyone is focused on their own navigation and equipment, it's possible to lose track of where your friends are. By the time they realized Bratchley wasn't with them, it was already too late. They surfaced that afternoon, and Bratchley didn't come. The team immediately dove back. They searched the passages, followed the remaining sections of guideline, tried calling underwater, swept their lights through the darkness. But Mill Pond Cave was a labyrinth of tight restrictions and sharp turns. Without knowing exactly where Bratchley had lost contact, finding him was nearly impossible. They made multiple attempts over several hours, dive after dive, searching every passage they could reach. But they found nothing. Hours after Bratchley's disappearance, early Wednesday morning, they called 911. Meanwhile, Bratchley was somewhere in the cave, trying to survive. He tried to find the exit. In absolute darkness, without a guideline to follow, he swam through passages trying to find his way. But in silt-laden water, every tunnel looked the same. Every turn could lead to the exit or deeper into the system. So if you were in his place, would you stay calm and conserve your breath, or would you try to find the exit? Josh tried multiple times to find the way out. Each attempt led to dead ends or passages he didn't recognize. And his air was running out. Every minute of searching consumed gas. Every breath brought him closer to complete depletion. Bratchley made a decision, probably a decision that saved his life. He stopped searching. He retreated to an air pocket within the cave system. Having dived Mill Pond before, he knew there were dry areas where divers could surface and breathe. He found one of these air pockets, pulled himself out of the water, and removed his diving equipment. He positioned himself on a rock ledge above the waterline, and then he waited. The air pocket contained enough oxygen for a long time. The environment was cold, but Bratchley was wearing a dry suit, which provided thermal protection. He had water accessible from the cave system. He had air to breathe. What he didn't have was any way to communicate with the surface. No way to tell rescuers where he was. No way even to know if anyone was searching for him. All he could do was conserve his remaining breathing gas, stay calm, and hope a rescue team would find him before conditions became critical. Above ground, a major rescue operation was mobilizing. Jackson County Emergency Management Agency responded immediately. Chattanooga-Hamilton County Rescue Service sent specialized cave rescue teams. Even the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency provided support. But this wasn't a rescue local teams could handle alone. Mill Pond Cave required too much experience and was too dangerous. Authorities made a vital phone call in the early morning hours. Who do you think they called? I think I know which name you'll say. Sorenson is an elite cave rescue diver, a member of the International Underwater Cave Rescue and Recovery Team. He's conducted rescue and body recovery operations in some of the world's most challenging cave systems. Sorenson and Bratchley had never met personally, but they knew of each other. Both had been following the other's accomplishments for years. Sorenson had even commented to NBC News during the Thailand cave rescue, explaining the challenges Bratchley and the team faced underground. Now Sorenson would be the one diving into the darkness to rescue Bratchley. He immediately boarded a plane. The Tennessee Highway Patrol flew him directly from Nashville International Airport to the scene in a police helicopter. Wednesday afternoon, Sorenson was on scene, preparing for the rescue operation. Local experts familiar with the cave system were consulted. Though limited, they provided information about the cave's layout, the location of air pockets, and the most likely places Bratchley might have retreated. The rescue team made a plan. Sorenson would enter the cave with new Guideline, carefully navigating the system, checking every possible location where Bratchley might be. That Wednesday evening, more than 24 hours after Bratchley's disappearance, Sorenson entered the water. The dive was as Sorenson expected. Narrow passages, zero visibility, silt rising into the water with every movement, damaged sections of Guideline throughout the system. He'd been dealing with these for years already. He moved slowly, methodically, checked every accessible place. He was searching for both a living person and a body. After this much time in cold water, either outcome was possible. He reached an air pocket and surfaced. And there, positioned on a rock ledge, was Josh Bratchley, alive, awake, completely calm. Bratchley expressed his gratitude to Sorenson. Later reports indicated he acknowledged the irony of the situation, making comments about the unusual experience of being on the receiving end of a rescue operation. Sorenson assessed Bratchley's condition: mentally sharp, physically stable, cold but not dangerously so. His dry suit had provided sufficient thermal protection to keep him alive. They prepared to exit. Sorenson led the way, having laid new Guideline on his way in. Bratchley followed, swimming under his own power. No emergency transport needed. Just two experienced cave divers returning to the surface through narrow passages. That evening, approximately 28 hours after Bratchley's disappearance, both men surfaced. The rescue team breathed a sigh of relief. Media crews following the story captured the moment. Bratchley emerged from the water and was evaluated by medical personnel at the scene. He was determined to be in stable condition. According to rescue officials, Bratchley recovered quickly from the ordeal. Reports indicated he was in good spirits and health. The rescue was complete. The cave rescue expert who'd helped save 13 lives in Thailand had been rescued by another cave rescue expert who dedicated his life to bringing people home alive. The story became an international headline. The irony couldn't be ignored. Cave rescuer needs rescuing. Thailand cave hero rescued from Tennessee cave. Headlines like these. But beneath the headlines was a more important story about what really saved Josh Bratchley's life. So what was it? It wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was training, experience, and decision-making ability under pressure. When Bratchley realized he was lost, he didn't panic. He tried to rescue himself, but when these attempts failed, he didn't exhaust himself with futile searches. Having dived before, he knew there were air pockets in the system. He knew how to conserve his gas. He knew how to manage thermal challenges. He knew rescuers would be searching for him. So he retreated to a safe place, removed his equipment to conserve breath, and waited. Lieutenant Brian Krebs from Chattanooga-Hamilton County Rescue Service stated that Bratchley was largely responsible for saving his own life. Rescue officials noted that most people would panic in such situations, which often leads to fatal mistakes. The skills that made him valuable in Thailand, calmness under pressure, rational decision-making, knowledge of cave systems, kept him alive in Tennessee. Edd Sorenson later reflected on the rescue. He noted that much of his work involves body recovery rather than live rescues. Finding someone alive after being trapped this long in a submerged cave is extraordinarily rare. He said bringing someone home alive feels wonderful. Bratchley acknowledged the unusual nature of needing rescue so shortly after participating in one of history's most famous cave rescues. Mill Pond Cave continues to be a challenging dive site, requiring technical knowledge. The passages are still narrow. Visibility is still near zero. Conditions continue to challenge even the most experienced divers. But on April 17, 2019, it gave back one of the people who entered its passages. Not because the cave was merciful, but because Josh Bratchley knew exactly what to do when everything went wrong. The Thailand cave rescue taught the world that even in seemingly impossible situations, skill and preparation can bring people home alive. The Mill Pond Cave Rescue taught the same lesson, that sometimes even rescuers need rescuing, and that the skills that save others can save yourself when conditions turn against you. The incident underscored the review of safety protocols and access procedures for technical cave diving areas. The cave diving community examined the lessons learned, reinforcing the importance of equipment redundancy, guideline management, and emergency protocols. But the most important lesson was already known by every experienced cave diver. When you're lost in a submerged cave, the decision to stop and wait for rescue can be the difference between survival and death. Josh Bratchley made that decision, and 28 hours later, he swam out alive. 37 years ago, on the other side of the world in a dry cave, another man faced a similar moment, but under very different conditions. Donald Weltner didn't enter Crooked Swamp Cave as a diver or an explorer pushing technical limits. He entered as a trusted adult, a state trooper, and a scout leader, trusting that experience and authority could substitute for experience underground. What followed was not a sudden collapse or dramatic mistake, but a slow, irreversible series of small decisions, each one narrowing his options, each one harder to undo than the last. Where Josh Bratchley survived by stopping, Donald Weltner became trapped by moving forward. Remember, caves don't forgive. What happened next didn't go well at all. But that incident will be the subject of our next video. That's all for now.